While you were a fishing vessel examiner, I want you to think, what's the most memorable occurrence, accident, something that happened in the fishing vessel world? I mean, we've had some big ones over the last 15 years.
Yeah, I think there's a lot memorable about there. There's been a lot of great memories about the job that the fishing vessel examiner job and the job as the coordinator. The problem, or not the problem, but one of the things with the prevention field is you don't really ever get to measure your success
Mm-hmm.
or lack of success. you you go out and you do what you do, but largely you don't know what you don't know. So when you walk on and off a boat and you feel good about the recommendations you made, or the things that you may have required a person to get so they're in compliance with the safety regulations, and you walk off, that's really all you can do to some extent. Where you get some minor satisfaction is if by some chance something happens to that vessel, which it's just a double-edged sword. I mean, you don't ever want to see anyone use the things that you are requiring them to have, because that implies that they're having a really bad day. But you can kind of measure sometimes after an event happens, which is out of our control. Did their training and their equipment and everything work the way it was designed, and was the fact that you were there on a day or two or 10 before the event happened, did that have anything to do with it? And sometimes fishermen will come right out and say, wow, if I wouldn't have taken that training class, things might have went different. Or, man, if I hadn't just learned about the EPIRB or the raft, I'm not sure how things would have went. So you take little satisfactions in unfortunately other people's hardships when they happen. But yeah, I mean, to me, the most memorable things, of course, are usually the bigger ones. The destination in 2017 and the Scandies Rose on New Year's Eve of 2019. Those kind of hit hard. I was on the Scandies Rose in October of 2019 in Dutch Harbor, and you might have been there too. But I was on board doing a stability, safety, compliance check on that boat, and I got a call New Year's morning from the Bering Sea Crabbers Association president, and I didn't figure she was calling to tell me Happy New Year. And she said, yeah, we lost the Scandies. And she said, right now there's 2 survivors, but they're looking for 5. And that's, those are bad times. Those are bad moments. And I knew those guys not well, but I mean, I had just been on the boat 2.5 months earlier. And of course, that causes you a lot of moment for pause too when you realize that you were the last regulatory person on board. So now those things start whizzing through your head of, was you start second guessing, or not second guessing, but you start going to the back in your records and making sure that all the I's were dotted and the T's were crossed, and because at some point that's all going to come up. So, but you try to do that, not from a place of paranoia, but that you're going to probably wind up at the other end of the long green table being asked some very pointed questions, and
Yeah.
and that happens. And so of course I remember those, and like I said, I remember the characters that I've met in the industry, because there's a lot of them, and the fun that we have on our outreach trips to communities, and just the success stories of watching a town that otherwise was very non-compliant, didn't feel compelled to worry about the regulations because they didn't see the Coast Guard a lot, or they felt like, oh, I've been doing this forever. And then to win a town like that over, Kotzebue comes to mind, Yakutat comes to mind, where they go from literally hiding from you when you're there to chasing you to the airport to try to show you that one last thing that they got right. So that's where we kind of take a lot of our victories in this program, is changing the culture, changing people's mindset regarding safety, and yeah, but when things go wrong, then you take it exactly the opposite way. You feel some sense of not responsibility, but you wonder, was I on that boat? Did I know that guy or gal? Why didn't things work out? And but anyway, so yeah, so those are the things that are memorable to me from my time both as an examiner and through today. Is it's not working with the regulations or some of the political side of getting regulations in place, and but the investigations, are very interesting. They're sad, unfortunately, because they imply that something really bad has happened. But you do learn a lot from the investigations, and hopefully we make changes based on those investigations. But yeah, the Scandies Rose, the destination, those are obviously two that come right to mind because they were large loss of life. 5 and 6 persons. And yeah, as far as success stories, yeah, it's nice to see a town or an individual, who was maybe resistant to safety or regulation. And Alaska's, full of people that are of that mindset. They're here for a reason, a lot of them, and that reason largely is to not be messed with and to do their thing. And the government and regulation is sometimes not their favorite thing, but when you can break through to those people and get them to see it your way, then that's pretty satisfying. So
Yeah.
yeah.